Welcome to Talkin VAWLS, episode number 34, the bonus episode brought to you by the Outright Geekery Podcast Network on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you meet your podcast needs, but also by the S&B Network on YouTube. Be sure to hit that like button, leave us a comment, and subscribe. My name is Boogie Bentley.
I'm Balls JP.
And I'm Gator Hater, our main.
We are at Talkin VAWLS _pod. That's VAWLS _pod on Facebook and Twitter. Give us a follow. Give us feedback. Let us know what you think of your weekly Tennessee football podcast. But spoiler alert, this ain't just a football podcast anymore, guys. Groundbreaking news this week. You guys are thinking about going basketballs. Basketballs. Is it going to be a thing? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. A lot of positive to talk about with the basketballs right now.
Could be a big season. Boogie doesn't know anything about basketball, but leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think. Talkin VAWLS, we post a weekly episode during the football season, but now we're thinking about expanding that. And VAWLS JP and our main are diehard basketball fans, and they're thinking about keeping this thing rolling. And so let us know. Leave us a comment. Let us know if you want to follow the basketball season through Talkin VAWLS. Your weekly source of Tennessee football and basketball news. Oh, man, that just seems weird. Just a reminder, we've got the $50 Amazon gift card giveaway going on. Oh, we're so close. We're like 100 subscribers away from 1,000. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to give away that $50 Amazon gift card. Check out at Snake and Boogie on Twitter. It's the pinned tweet. And once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to give away that $50 Amazon gift card. But it's Gator Hater week, Florida week. Man, today sucked at work. It absolutely horrible day at work. And as soon as it ended, I was stoked because I knew we had the bonus episode coming. Tennessee versus Florida, Saturday night game. You guys know Knoxville's going to be rocking. Two teams with new head coaches trying to rebound and make it into bowl season. But before we kind of get into that, we're going to break down Tennessee, Florida. I want to talk about the 2019 schedule. Dropped just today, right? Just today. What do you guys think? You guys seen it yet? JP, I'm sure you saw it. What do you think? First thoughts on the 2019 football schedule?
Well, I think that the schedule lays out better than it certainly does this year. You know, I mean, we got Florida, and then we have an open date before they play Georgia. Mississippi State next year is the other Western foe. So hopefully, State, even though that they're good this year, I would imagine that they'll have a drop off next year because I know their quarterback's leaving, and I think they got several of those defensive linemen that'll either be graduating or going in the NFL. So I'd imagine that they will have a drop off. So I would gladly trade them next year for Auburn, you know, which we got this year. So I think the schedule certainly works out better. We don't have that murderer's row like we got this year. I would still love to see a way that they could, you know, maybe move that Florida game or even that Georgia game towards the end of the schedule.
Yeah, I would like to see that too, especially I don't know if they'll move the Florida game. It seems pretty set early. I'd definitely like to see it late as well, but yeah, there's not. I mean, it's sitting here looking at it now. It's I think going into Florida, they could be three. You've got Georgia State. I think BYU's an interesting game. BYU's kind of one of those teams that's you can't sleep on them by any means. And then
No,
Chattanooga,
Wisconsin found that out.
exactly. Yeah, so I mean that'll be a good non-conference game, and then you got. Of course, you got your three: Georgia State, Chattanooga, UAB. But yeah, I like seeing that October better of Georgia, Mississippi State, at Alabama and South Carolina. That sounds a whole lot better than this year, and hopefully next year will be the first time in forever that when we play another Western Division team besides Alabama, they're not just stacked because it seems like we're hitting everybody on their big year.
Yep.
I have no doubt Mississippi State will be a tough game, but hopefully that's not their big year next year. But I think that's definitely, just going off of now what we know is coming back, recruiting, what they could bring in recruiting wise. That's a schedule that sets up pretty good for at least the bowl game next year, no doubt.
I like. I'm not saying BYU is as good as West Virginia, but I like the fact that you have a cupcake before BYU. I kind of wish, like this season, I would have much rather played ETSU and then West Virginia. I know that some of the argument about that was, well, you know what you got after that first game because you played West Virginia. You kind of know where you stand, and I get that. But I like a warm up game, so I like that Georgia State game being first, then BYU, which I mean that's not a guaranteed win. That's a football game that you're going to have to go into and play and take care of business. But like I said, I like that cupcake game first. Something I want to bring up. This is random. It just hit me now. I didn't plan on doing this. I see a lot of people talking about that Alabama game, and I think both you guys are going to agree with me on this. I'm not going to state my opinion. I want to kind of fill you guys out first. A lot of people want to drop that Alabama game being every year, and it be a rotating game because it's a SEC West opponent. Armaine, I'm going to go to you first because I know how much JP hates Alabama, so I'm going to pitch it to you first. What do you think about that? Do you think Tennessee should play Alabama every year, or should they go on that rotating schedule and drop them off 2 out of 4 years?
No, they should play them every year. That's depending on who you talk to. If it's a newer school or old school fan, some people still see that as the game on the schedule. And no, I don't want to. I don't want to see that one dropped. I'm still one I can remember. I'm sure you guys remember as well. Hated when Auburn dropped off the schedule because used to that was your two big games was Alabama and Auburn. So I mean, has it worked out to Tennessee's advantage? Absolutely not. With Alabama just being loaded for years now, but I don't know. I don't want to see it come off of the schedule. I really don't. And we may suffer for a while over that game, but that's a big rivalry. At some point, one of these years, it'll eventually turn back the other way because it goes in cycles. So
Yeah, I mean,
I want to see him stay.
it's funny how that it comes up now that how much Alabama owns Tennessee, but you can just rewind just 10 years. Look at the Fulmer era. Tennessee dominated that rivalry. But a lot of people seem to forget that when you're talking about it. JP, I know what you want, and I think you're in agreement with me and our main. I don't want that game dropped off the schedule. I want to play Alabama third Saturday in October every single year. I'm sure you're in agreement.
Yeah, I am. I just want the Vols to be competitive, you know? I mean, I don't want to just lay down and say, yeah, Alabama's, this much better than us and we're never going to win because, forget that. I'm never going to say that, but it does put us behind the eight ball because, I mean, you got Georgia, South Carolina, they have to rotate and so what they get them every sixth or seventh year, and so right now with the way that Alabama's playing for the last 10 years or so, I mean it has put us put us behind, but it really wouldn't matter anyway because Tennessee's athletic program has been so crappy and their football program has been so bad, it wouldn't have mattered if we was playing another Western Division team. We still weren't going to win. So with that, I just want Tennessee football to be able to where they're competitive in that series again.
Yeah, but you flash back to the '90s when it was Tennessee and Florida, right? That Tennessee Florida game every year, the winner went on to play for the SEC championship. At that time, it mattered if Alabama was where they're at now. You know what I mean? But now it's like you said, Tennessee is so far down now that it doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. But if you went back to the '90s when it was Tennessee and Florida competing, and if Alabama was where they were at, then you would be at a disadvantage. But I don't know that it even matters right now,
It
and
doesn't.
that's
Yeah,
sad. It's sad.
yeah. I mean, currently right now with the state that Tennessee football is in, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's what I was saying. I mean, whoop de big do if we exchanged Alabama with say Mississippi State this year, they would
Does
still beat us.
does it really
So
matter?
you
Yeah.
know, LSU would beat us. Texas A&M would beat us. I mean, that's the thing. So uh, I guess maybe one day that we can look back on it and say that you know in this Alabama dominance that was when Tennessee was at their worst, and maybe maybe it won't feel as bad or something. I don't know, but I'm just tired of just getting absolutely demolished by Alabama. I mean, that's what I'm tired of.
You know what I'm
But
tired of? I'm tired of talking about Alabama because it's Gator Hater week. Tennessee, Florida this Saturday night game. Knoxville's going to be a rocking baby. It's going to be freaking. It's going to be chaos, man. It's going to be chaos, and it's almost comical. You know, you're coming off of 0-8 in SEC play, but yet you guys know as well as I know, Knoxville will be ready to rock and roll on Saturday night. It's going to be a great environment for football, and you've got two teams again with new head coaches, two teams that didn't make a bowl game last year, but there's a lot on the line. There is a lot on the line this Saturday night in Knoxville. Our main opening comments, UT Florida. What do you think? What are you feeling?
I'm feeling just fired up for it. And I'm sure I really sounded it when I said it right
Yeah,
there.
that's just. We need to start this damn podcast over. That pisses me off because I'm fired up. Damn it, I'm fired
well,
up.
I've kind of gone back and forth on it the last few days because I don't, I don't think either team's very good now. And I've said it for the past 2 weeks. I've said it ever since West Virginia. This is the game for Tennessee. This is the game this year. Winning this game still really does not guarantee you're going to get a bowl game because you've still got games that you're going to have a tough time winning. But I really think that if you're going to have that shot at a bowl game, you've got to win this game. And Florida got beat by Kentucky. I'm nothing against Kentucky. They seem like they've probably got a decent team this year. I mean, Florida beat Colorado State. I actually didn't expect them to beat them as much as they did. They handled them, but Florida is extremely beatable this week. And I was reading one of the Florida writers said about the game. If you switch the teams, it's almost like they have the same problems. I think Tennessee has better quarterback than Florida. It sounds like Florida's defense is not very good. Sounds like their lines are not very good. That sounds familiar. I think Tennessee's better at the skill position. Florida's got some good wide receivers. I don't know about their running backs, but this is a very winnable game. And I think Pruitt, from what I'm gathering, is the first one that's embracing this and just acting like it's not another game. He knows it's a big deal. He's made comments about he grew up, that was the big game in the East. And, you know, how much that used to mean. So, it's big, guys. It is a big, big game this week. And there's just so much around it. I know we'll get to recruiting later on. That's a huge emphasis this weekend. Electric atmosphere. I'm fired up for it. And Tennessee, I want to see Tennessee show some guts this weekend. Not come in there like they've been in years past. How many times have we seen them come out and piss down their legs in this game? I want to see them come out ready to play, not scared, and take it to these guys.
What's interesting to me is you bring up that Colorado State game and that Florida took care of business, but it's a weird game, man. We talked about it on Sunday's episode of Talkin VAWLS. Talked about the UTEP game and how it was such a weird game because Tennessee won 24-0, and they should. When you're sitting back and you're not watching the game, you're not paying attention, you're not diving into it. 24-0 over UTEP is not very impressive. But then you looked at what Florida did to Colorado State, and you're like, oh man, they blew them out. They took care of business. But then you flip the script and you look at how much that Tennessee outgained UTEP, right? Tennessee shot themselves in the foot. You know, they had what, 2 turnovers? They had 2 turnovers in the UTEP game.
Yeah.
Too, yeah.
But then look at the Florida Colorado State game. Florida had what, a block punt. They had 2 defensive touchdowns. I, and I think in the fourth quarter, Colorado State was actually outgaining Florida in that game. But when you look at the scoreboard, you don't see that. You don't see. I think that Florida Colorado State game was a lot closer than the Tennessee UTEP game. And I'm not saying that UTEP's on the same level as Colorado State. I'm not saying that at all. But I think you need to kind of sit back and look at the true story of those 2 football games when you're comparing Tennessee and Florida.
Oh yeah, I mean, you base it just on stats, and if you look at the Tennessee stats against UTEP, you would think the score would have been 48-10, which is what the Florida Colorado State game was, and vice versa. With that, of course, stats don't mean anything, but I'm definitely not sold on Florida at all, and I agree with Armaine completely. Florida is very beatable this weekend. But if history has anything to do with it, Tennessee's, like he said, they find a way to piss down their leg against these Gators.
So how do we get over that? And excuse me, I gotta fix my freaking microphone. It's gonna make a big old noise, but I'm fixing it, and I'm sorry. Let's roll right on through the podcast. How do you fix that? Because look at the past. I don't know. Man, I'm spitballing here. I don't have anything in front of me. When was the last time that Florida just absolutely blew Tennessee out on a regular basis? You know, look at the past few years. These games have been close, very close. 2 years ago, Tennessee beat Florida. Last year, they lost because of the last second Hail Mary. Does anybody on this roster fear Florida? Do you really
I
think
wouldn't
anybody?
think so.
I
I
don't think
wouldn't
so
think
either.
that they would.
Does anybody on this coaching staff fear Florida?
No,
I
I wouldn't
think
think
it-
so.
I
wouldn't
think it's a
so.
fan base problem. I think it's a fan base problem because we have been used and abused in this Tennessee Florida game and Tennessee games in general. I think we've built up this. It's just when you play a ranked team, you play a Florida, you expect to lose. But I don't know that anybody in that locker room expects to lose, and
I hope they
that's all
don't.
that's
I
all
hope
that
they don't
matters.
Either. Yeah,
That's
I
all
hope
that
they
matters.
Don't either. I mean, they've beaten. There's guys on this roster that's beaten Florida, and that's the first time you could say that about any Tennessee roster in a long time. I don't know that many of these guys were key contributors on that team. Of course, Jennings had a big hand in that, but
I don't know if Tuttle played then or not. I don't know if he was hurt during that game or what. I can't remember.
I don't think he would have been full speed at that time because that would have been his sophomore year. So he probably played, but not like he's playing now. Same with Kyle Phillips. He probably played some, but because you still had Barnett and Vereen at that point, and there wasn't a whole lot of reason to take them out a lot. Kirkland was out because he'd gotten hurt in the Virginia Tech game,
Yeah.
and Warrior wasn't playing. So there, I guess the thing about it is Jennings is probably the only guy that was a key contributor on that team, and maybe Richmond was playing at that point.
That'd be a first.
Yeah, well, he was in. I don't know. I think he struggled some then too, but
Imagine
I don't
that.
see why you would be afraid of them because you've gone toe to toe with them last year, and I definitely don't think his coaching staff's going to be afraid of him. I mean, that coaching staff's littered with guys some of them who just came out of a national championship game. They're not going to be scared of a team that was 4-8 last year, and
I agree.
I don't know that the fear will be there on the field, and I think the biggest thing their attitudes and how they play will reflect their coach. I think Butch Dooley, I think there were times they were scared of Florida, and I don't. Pruitt's not going to be scared of them. I think the only thing he's probably worried about is how his own team plays.
Yeah, I don't expect us to coach scared. Um, I don't I don't expect that at all. I think that Pruitt will do what it takes to try to win the football game. I don't think we're going to see him playing conservative. Uh, if we can move the football at all, it's going to be interesting because I do think that a lot of our weaknesses, like you were saying, our main is the same weaknesses that Florida have. So it could be an ugly football game Saturday night for sure.
Well, let's
I
talk
don't
about
expect it to light the scoreboard by any
yeah.
No.
means
Let's
right there.
let's talk about some of the weaknesses. Obviously, I think Tennessee's offensive line is a huge concern. Tennessee's had success running outside the tackles for the most part. Uh, do you think that works against Florida, or do you think the speed factor is going to play into that? What does Tennessee have to do? Because I think to beat Florida, they're going to have some success running the football.
I think they're going to have to, and I thought about it after we did the podcast Saturday, and yeah, I hate this term. I've seen people use it. Well, it's vanilla. I don't know that it's vanilla. You're trying to. I don't think there's any coach that doesn't want to score points or anything. I don't. I think after thinking about it, if you think how Kentucky beat Florida, they ran all over them. I think maybe Tennessee had something in mind Saturday when they're running as much as they did, maybe trying to get something going because they really didn't hardly throw any after halftime. And I don't know that. It's just a guess on my part. But I think the run game will be a key factor this week. I mean, we know the stats. Team rushes for the most. Of course, that normally wins the game. And I think there was a point with Tennessee running as much as they did Saturday because they're going to want to come out and do what Kentucky did and run on them. You get that running game open, that's going to open up your receivers to make some plays right there. And Florida's not been very good at stopping the run, and they're transitioning to a new defense as well.
Yeah, Pruitt pretty much said that much on his coach's show this past weekend. That he pretty much used that second half to work on the run game. That they didn't really feel like that UTEP was much of a threat to score. So they were just trying to really just kind of just shorten the game and try to avoid injuries and obviously work on that running game because I think that he knows that this team's not going to be able to be one of these teams that just runs up and down the field, just lighting the scoreboard up. So his best bet to win football games is to run the ball, control the clock, and keep the other team's offense off the field. And one thing that I think is big for the running game this week, and I've never been a big fan of playing multiple running backs or quarterbacks or anything like that, but I don't think that they've been able to get anybody in a real groove other than Jordan in that first game, and I think that was partially because that uh, Chandler got hurt. But when you're running four different running backs and you're playing them, I don't think that they can really get into a rhythm. So uh, from what I've seen in the first three games this year, and y'all can argue with me if you want, but I think Ty Chandler is far and away the best running back that Tennessee has, and you have got, in my opinion, Saturday you have got to feed him the rock. You have got to give him the ball.
Oh, I agree 100%. 100%. He has shown he's the best running back on this roster. And I may disagree with you a little bit, running back by committee. I think when you've got three good running backs, I think it's a huge advantage for you. But at the same time, when you've got a workhorse like Chandler, I think you feed him the rock and let him do his thing. Um, I think Banks is a guy that we were so high on right after ETSU. because he hit the hole so hard. He showed good promise, but from that point
He's
on,
not playing Saturday.
no, he's
I don't
shown that
think he is either.
he can't protect the ball. And spoiler alert, we're going to get into our keys for the game. You cannot put the ball on the ground. That is a huge problem when you're playing a team like Florida. You can get away with it against a ETSU or a UTEP. You cannot get away with putting the ball on the ground against a team like Florida. You can't. And like I said, that's a spoiler alert for the last half of this podcast. But I agree with you. Feed Chandler, give him the ball. He's proven the 81-yard touchdown. Listen, it was set up well. It was blocked well. Everybody executed. But Chandler is why that was an 81-yard touchdown. If that was Jordan, I don't think that he has that breakaway speed like Chandler
He
does.
doesn't.
I think Chandler is a special running back, and I think he proved against UTEP why he should get the majority of the carries.
I think you may see something like last year, how they started just riding John Kelly. And I think Chandler could do the same thing. And I thought it was interesting they went no back and put Chandler in the slot a little last week. I've seen some of them mention that you could throw him out in the slot and he could do some damage out there as well. I think Tennessee's going to win. He's going to have a big game. And I definitely don't expect to see 4 running backs. I think the last 2 weeks allowed it just because of the opponent. I think you'll see 3 at some point, and I think Chandler will dominate the carries. Now I think you'll see Jordan and London some. But, yeah, I'm with you guys. I think Chandler's he's shown that ability that he can be a special back, and I think you got to ride him.
I wish they would find a way to get him the ball other than carries. I think, and maybe, you talk about a dialed down offense the last 2 weeks because of the opponent, and that's very possible. At times you're looking at a UTEP game and it's 24-0. You're like, well, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? Because from a coaching standpoint, maybe you're not intimidated. Maybe you feel safe, so you're not showing your full hand. But I would like to see them get the ball to Chandler in space a little more. Screens. I think this team has not utilized screens to the running back as well as they could. But again, it's been a weird season to this point. We're 3 games in. They got manhandled by West Virginia. It is what it is. That's what happened. And then ETSU and UTEP, there was never a question. At any point during either game did any of us think Tennessee may lose this game. As irritated and as frustrated as you may have been at times during both of those games, you never questioned the outcome of the game. And so I don't think we've really seen what this Tennessee offense can do. And I think this Tennessee football team has playmakers all over the field. It starts up front. They have to get protection. They have to get run blocking. Otherwise, they're an offensive line away from being a really good SEC offense. That's my opinion.
I think they are too, and I'm curious to see. I've seen some of the moves, kind of what they've been going with on the line this week. I'm gonna be curious to see. I kind of don't think we'll see the same line we've seen for the last couple of weeks. I wouldn't even be surprised to see Trey Smith inside, and I wonder if their best line's not with him inside, because you're not getting anything inside right now. If you move him in, maybe that opens up the inside a little bit. But you've got to have somebody on the left side. If he's going to play left guard, you got to have a left tackle that can do his job too to do it. But I agree with you. I think they've got playmakers all over. It's just a matter of blocking for them. That's on point analysis there.
Yeah, we've talked about it every podcast this year, and well, it seems to be
Last year too.
yeah, last year and the year before, and as long as I can remember anymore, it seems like it's what's so frustrating. It's like that we've never improved on the offensive line. But I went back and watched quite a bit of that UTEP game, and there's just it's like 70% of the plays that somebody is not doing their job. It's whether or not that they're not, uh, blocking the right guy or they're just getting beat. And Trey Smith has been struggling out there. I mean, he really has, and I'm with our main. I would like to see somebody be able to step up and take over that left tackle position so we could move him inside. I think that it would help our running game tremendously if we could get him inside at one of the guard positions at left guard. But I mean, who's going to play left tackle? I mean, who is? It's unfortunate that Chance Hall's had all his knee issues, or he would be a good candidate.
Well, I've seen
Uh,
they've been working him there this week at left tackle,
yeah,
so it is a
yeah,
possibility.
I saw that too. So is it a possibility that they try that some Saturday? I guess it is. Then you got that. Was it Niehaus, Nathan Niehaus? I mean, he just looks like that he's pretty light in the pants, if you ask me. I just don't know if he can withhold up but definitely on the interior of the line. I mean, that Kennedy injury really was a a a big injury because I think he was going to settle in nicely there at center, and I think Johnson played better at center this week than he did against ETSU, but there's a lot of communication errors that are going on with that offensive line, uh, but some of them are still just weak. I mean, I just don't think that they have the strength that these offensive linemen need.
Can we address the Kennedy issue? We get ripped week in and week out about that West Virginia game. We were not talking about one play. We were talking about the first half in general that he struggled. And whether you agree or disagree, it's the facts are the facts. He struggled in the first half and he turned it around.
Yeah, he got better.
We're not
He
saying he
definitely
is a
did the
bad
first
football
quarter.
player.
He definitely
We
struggled the first quarter.
Yes, he did, and we think he turned it around and played a good second half, and then he got hurt and he's out for the year. Regardless of what happened on that first play, we are just saying he struggled in the first quarter. Period. The end. It's not about one play in the whiff block and who's responsible.
And
Ah,
I don't even think we're. And that's one thing somebody said. Like we know at this point that they said Ryan Johnson missed the block.
yes,
We're
we
aware of that.
understand.
But there
We
was
understand.
plenty of more plays in that first quarter and a half. He had a tough first quarter and he turned it around toward the end of the first quarter and played fine the rest of the way. But the
Man,
overall first quarter, yes, it was the line. I mean, nobody in the line stood out on it, and he didn't either. But no,
we
we're
love
not blaming him for that first play.
we we love you guys. We do. We love you guys. But sometimes, man, you get stuck on something that somebody said at one point in time, and you guys ride it out for weeks at a time. But we still love you, and we love your comment. So go ahead and drop that comment that it wasn't Kennedy's fault on that first play. Oh
I just
man,
wonder why that we haven't considered trying that Jameer Johnson at tackle. Of course, I mean, I'm not going to second guess the coaches. It'd be stupid for us three guys that don't even get to see any of the practices or anything to see what's going on. But to me, it is interesting that because I mean that's what Tennessee recruited him as was a tackle, and I mean his body definitely looks more like a tackle than a guard for sure. Because I mean, he's really struggled. He'll have a really good play, but then he'll have four that you're like, oh my gosh, plays. So I mean, I've went back a lot, and when I'm rewatching the game, I will focus on the offensive line. And there's a lot of times that he's struggling for sure.
well that's why honestly when we do this podcast, I have a hard time criticizing coaches' decisions. And whether I'm right or wrong, that can go back to Dobbs. You know, at one point you wanted a bench job, Dobbs, and we argued till we were blue in the face on this podcast, right? And I think we could both agree I was right in that argument. There were times on this podcast we argued over Hurd and Kamara who should start, and I was probably wrong in that argument. But I think you have to trust your coaches because, like you said, they're the ones that see practice. They're the ones that see all these reps. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Butch Jones may be the worst coach on the face of the earth, but he is at the time was the head coach of the University of Tennessee. You have to trust him to make the right decisions, and whether we criticize that or not, you know that whatever. But I'm just saying, it's tough, like you said, for three dudes that work a 9 to 5 to sit here and criticize what Coach Pruitt is doing. We're going to get into our Florida predictions here in a little bit. We're going to get into some recruiting. We're going to get into some keys to success, what we think the Vols need to do to win the game. But before we do that, I think let's all talk about JP. I don't even know how you worded this. A player, a key player who needs to step up on Saturday for Tennessee to have success against Florida. Our main, no, let's put JP. Vols JP, you're on the spot because this was your question, and I completely botched how you wanted to word this.
My player that I think, and this may sound crazy, but honestly, the player that I think that's going to have to step up and play at a high level this week is Trey Smith. I think that offensive line has struggled so mightily that if he can get back to his consistent level, and because I mean he did, I mean he struggled against UTEP. I mean he got beat several times, and we just can't have that because once we get into breaking this thing down, Tennessee cannot get behind the chains. They're not going to be able to allow sacks. Florida gets us in second and 15, third down and 12 and stuff like that. It's going to be a long night. So um, my key player, I think that is going to have an exceptional game in order to keep Garantano from getting mauled is Trey Smith.
And I'll jump into that and talking about Jarrett Garantano, and this is going to bleed right into my keys to success. Uh, Garantano's not turned the ball over yet. He's not. He's protected the ball well. His what's his completion percentage? 70+%.
Right at it, I
I think.
think.
I mean that's incredible. 3 games into the season, and he's completing over 70% of his passes. That's huge. On the flip side of that, I think they're going to have to take some shots. I think he's going to have to maybe not force, but throw some passes that aren't guaranteed completions. I think to beat Florida, but I think if JG rolls on Saturday, I think Tennessee rolls. So Garantano is going to be my player that I choose for Saturday night.
I'm in agreement with both of you guys on it. I'm trying to think of somebody on the defense. The Trey Smith one is that would be my pick as well, just because he did have a tough game this week, and it kind of goes back to the point you made earlier. I wonder if they flip flopped him and Jameer Johnson, if it'd make any kind of a difference or not. Again, I don't know. I just wonder about it though. But somebody on the I don't know if it needs to be Kyle Phillips, Daryl Taylor. I'm not even gonna say Kongbo, but
Oh man, that's
but
the name I was sitting here. Come on, man, let's go out on a limb with King Kongbo.
one of these outside guys needs to step it up because, or somebody inside, maybe a Batuli or a Kirkland.
I thought
I can't
Batuli
really,
played well. I thought Batuli played well this week against UTEP. I really do.
yeah. I just think that front seven in general. I'm not gonna pick I think that front seven needs to shut Florida's run game down and make Franks beat them. If he beats you, I mean, hats off to him. But you need to shut their running game down and make him beat you because I don't think he's a very good quarterback. He may prove me wrong this weekend, but I really think that front seven needs to be able to shut down the run game and make him beat you. I think that's a huge key right there because if Florida's running on you, it's probably going to be a long night right there. So if I'm them, I'm gunning to stop that run and making Franks beat me. I just can't pick a guy out in general other than really the whole front seven on defense needs to step it up.
Man, I could almost just keep on rolling with keys to success. But let's talk about recruiting. I mean, it's
I'll tell
Tennessee,
you right quick.
or let's
I,
let JP talk.
I'll tell you a guy that I think has an opportunity Saturday night to come out of the blue and be somebody if Tennessee wins that we talk about a lot is Emmett Gooden. I really like him. I think that he's the most athletic defensive tackle that Tennessee has, and if Florida has some issues on the offensive line like everybody says they do, um, we might see old Mister Gooden have a good one.
Well,
So
listen, he's making plays now. But if you wanna go ahead and make a name for yourself, let's do it against Florida. So
exactly.
if he steps up and makes those plays against Florida, then yeah, we'll be definitely talking about him next week on Talkin VAWLS. But let's transition. It's a huge week for recruiting. It's Tennessee, Florida. I know Georgia's kind of stuck their nose into our business recruiting wise here lately, but our main let's talk about the biggest visiting weekend for Tennessee, probably all season long. What do you got on the recruiting front?
I'm not sure how many of them's official visitors, but it's looking like the list that's coming in this week is very impressive. And you think back over the years, just the atmospheres in this games, some of the bigger recruiting classes have actually came on the years where Florida was the home game. And I don't think that's any coincidence. Now, we've had some years where the coaching transitions has happened in those years and it's kind of thrown it off, but some of Fulmer's big years, some of Butch Jones's big years, it came from that Florida game. And just a couple articles, and I'll give credit to 24/7 Sports. I'll quote them on it this week. That way I'm not plagiarizing because I'm not doing that by any means. I don't have inside info. I'll go off what I read. But just it's an impressive list. It's looking like they're coming in this week. You've got Darnell Wright, the tackle out of West Virginia. And a lot of these analysts think Tennessee leads for him right now, that it's primarily a Tennessee-Alabama battle. That's one 5-star coming in. You've got the athlete out of North Carolina's 5-star, the Quavaris Crouch. You've got him coming in. He's been to Tennessee a lot of times. You've still got, I'm thumbing through here, you've got the Loganville guys. Morris is coming in, and he's possibly bringing, uh, is it Papow? I know JP knows who I'm talking about.
Owen,
Yes,
yeah, Owen Papo,
yes, he's not coming on an official visit. It was believed at one time he was. He's
he
coming
was, yeah.
unofficially, but that's good because he comes in and sees a good atmosphere. He likes what he sees. That possibly leads to an official visit down the line. And there's another teammate of theirs that's committed to Texas who's a defensive back, Kenyatta Watson, there's rumors he may come. Trey Knox, wide receiver out of Tennessee, is coming in, from what I gather. The defensive lineman slash linebacker out of Florida, Bogle, is coming in, and something I seen was big is it's expected that his mom's going to join him, and evidently she's big in his decision there. Um, I'm trying to see, there's some big 2020s coming in. Possibly you've got some of your commitments that are already coming in. I know I saw where Tice Fields. I would imagine Lampley's probably coming in. Um, Gosh, I'm still thumbing through here. I haven't seen an actual official list of who all may be coming in, but just the headliners to this point and it seems they're all unofficial. That's a stacked list that's coming in, and Tennessee's in really good shape. with all these guys. I'm not saying they're going to get them all, but we haven't really seen this kind of momentum probably in a few years. Definitely not Butch Jones's last couple of years, and maybe back to the legacy year is when they had so much momentum just rolling in big time prospects left and right. But it's a big weekend to really make an impression, and you this is not a weekend where you can just lay an egg. You make an impression, it could pay dividends down the line. So it's huge. It is huge from so many angles this weekend.
Yeah, I'll add one more that is supposed to come in is that Eric Gray at running back from West
Yep, forgot about him.
Tennessee down,
He's coming
I think in
officially, is
Memphis.
he not?
Yeah, I believe so. He's a Michigan commit right now, but seems like maybe Tennessee's starting to put the press on him a little bit. So maybe somebody that could potentially end up flipping possibly. But you know, as Armaine was reading over that list, I mean, I think looking at Tennessee's current roster, to me, obviously, the two most important players, if I had to pick two, is certainly hanging on to Wanya Morris, who's already committed, the offensive lineman out of Georgia. But man, if we could get him and Darnell Wright both, I mean, you talk about, hopefully maybe this time next year that we'd be talking about maybe a strength on the offensive line. There, of course, I know that both those guys would be true freshmen coming in, but that Darnell Wright, I mean, he's a massive boy, 6'6", 300 pounds, seems to be very very agile and everything. And then if I had to pick another potential commit that would be most important, I think would be Chris Bogle out of Florida. Um, we need somebody that can get to the quarterback. We need a pass rusher, and I think that's going to be his specialty. And I could see him in a couple of years after he gets in a weight room. He could be a beast.
I think so too, and I think I kind of agree with you because I think with Crouch, he could play the linebacker, running back. That's kind of undecided
Hmm.
right there. But I know another official visit I seen here is a wide receiver out of North Carolina, 4 star. Oh,
Caffrey
yep,
Brown.
yep, that's it. I was
Yeah,
gonna say Brown. I couldn't. I wasn't sure how to pronounce
yeah,
his first name, but that's
yeah. I have no
he's
idea.
official. Eric Gray's official. I'm not sure if there's any more officials, but if you hold on to Morris, which I mean he's a big time prospect, you know it's gonna be a fight. Right? They seem to be in good shape with him. Like I said, a lot of them are saying they lead for him right now. If you add two bookends like that, that's huge. And like I said, that could lead to a strength here in a year or two because you got to expect Trey Smith's probably gone after next year. And you're going to need some guys to step in, and that's some pretty good. And I like what they've got committed besides Morris. I think they've got a really good offensive line class going. But
I
but
agree.
I'm with you on Bogle. They need pass rushers in a bad way, and you get a little meat on his bones. I think he could be a really good one. Now it seems like they're gonna have their hands full beating Miami for him, but
Hmm.
if Mom's coming to town, we know Mom always has a lot of say so, and they can make an impression on Mom.
Mama knows
Well,
best,
Well,
brother.
you know how it is. You never hear much about it mattering with Dad. It's always you got to make an impression on Mom.
That's
And
just the story of life, right?
yeah,
Dad don't care, but Mama knows.
well, you know the interesting thing about Bogle is, there've been the quote unquote insider people that have said that he has almost committed to Tennessee twice earlier this year. So I mean, there's obviously something there that he likes. So if his mom truly does come in, I think that is huge because maybe he's like, Mom, I really like this place. I really like this place, and she's having second thoughts about him. Coming from I guess I don't know if he's from Fort Lauderdale or Miami, wherever he's actually from, but I know it's South Florida. But she might be having reservations about that. So I think Tennessee's chances of landing him certainly increase dramatically if Mama shows up.
But you know how it is with this game, and I'm sure what we mentioned here is just kind of probably scratching the surface. There's always these prospects that, hey, all of a sudden, Saturday 11 o'clock update. I just found out that such and such is on their way for this game, and I know Tennessee's still after a couple of those guys that are committed to Georgia, Norton and Logue. I know that they're still after them. If it's close enough, they may be at a Georgia game this weekend. I'm not sure, but you never know. A guy could make a trip up for that. Jaden Hill, who'd committed to Florida, kind of makes you wonder, would he come up to see both teams? He could be saying he's come up to see Florida, but from what I've seen, a lot of them don't think his commitment's over or his recruitment's over with. I think you'll see a lot of visitors, and there's some big 2020 guys coming in, some real high-ranked guys as well. A lot of momentum going right now. There's going to probably hit that point in the season to where with this murderer's row coming up where things may not go too well, but this is a big weekend to make an impression. I just hope that you don't get some of these guys. Let's say it's a 5-star atmosphere. They win the game, they come off that high and they go ahead and commit, but yet I'm still going to take my other visits. I hope they don't get a commitment just based off somebody coming off of a high, because a lot of times those commitments don't stick. My hope is that leads to an official visit. You retain that momentum till early signing period, or if they wait later. But they've got a huge opportunity to make an impression this weekend. I mean, this is not two good teams playing this weekend, but I really don't think the stakes could be any bigger for Tennessee based on where they're at right now. I really don't. There's just so much of an impression to make this weekend on so many levels.
Yeah, I mean, that list that we've been talking about, I mean, those are the type of players that you're going to have if you want to start competing again. I mean, yeah, we can sign the 3 stars and the low four stars, and we can continue on. But if Tennessee wants to get to that level to where they're competing for the SEC East, because I mean, let's be real. I mean, that's where that we've got to start, because obviously we're not even competing for the SEC East right now. We don't even want to talk about competing for a national championship or anything like that. But these are the type of kids that can get you back. You get a couple of recruiting classes with these type of talent in it, then you're on your way at that point in time. And I mean, the thing is, Pruitt and that staff know that. I mean, because I mean, look, I mean, I mean, especially him. I mean, he's been on five teams. It's won five. It's won national championships. I mean, he knows that he's not going to win a national championship with the talent that Tennessee's putting out there right now. I mean, he knows that. I mean, he's not stupid. That's why that. In my opinion, the success, if he has success at Tennessee as a head coach, is going to come down to whether or not that he can ultimately sign kids like we just talked about. I mean, that's just the way it's going to
And
be.
he touched upon that when he first got hired, and I think he touched upon that after recruiting. You're going to have to go head to head and beat the Alabamas, the Georgias, LSU's, Ohio State's, teams like that. I mean, you're going to find some guys that fly under the radar sometimes, but ultimately, if you're going to get to that level, and like you said, you've got to start by winning the SEC East. They hadn't won it since '07, so that's going on 12 years. Uh, you've got to start there, and this is the kind of guys that they need to get to that level. You've got to have those stud players like that. And Alabama was in this. Alabama had some down years. I know a lot of these younger guys may not remember, but early to mid up till Saban got there, they had some rough years. It was, I don't know if they were as down as Tennessee right now, but they were pretty down during that time. Saban got in, he had a rough first year, but once he started rolling in them big players, I mean they've ever since they've been a top five team every year. And you're right. That's no matter what Pruitt does, if he doesn't get the players, it's not going to matter because it's SEC. If you're going to compete in SEC, you got to have them. You just do. You may get to that point where you have continuity 3 to 4 years, lower ranked guys, and it results in an 8-win season or something like that. If you're wanting to get to where you're going to get to, you've got to roll in these 5 stars and high 4 stars. You can't make a living off of threes and low fours and the speedster out of Florida and stuff like that that previous staff tried to make a living off of.
Hey, fellas, as good as this information has been, I gave y'all 5 minutes for recruiting and you took 20. Let's and I'm not
Because
mad
it's
at
so
it.
important.
I'm not mad at it. I'm sitting back listening as a fan for the last 20 minutes, and it's been freaking ridiculously good information. Uh, let's go ahead and blend our predictions in. We got to wrap this thing up. Let's blend in our keys to success with our predictions. So, Vols JP, I'm going to put you on the spot first. Give me you can take a couple minutes here and chat about it, but give me your keys to success, followed by your prediction for Tennessee, Florida on Saturday night. Make it Lee Corso worthy.
Lee Corso worthy, that guy. Um,
That dude's losing his
Obviously, I
mind.
think huge thing for Tennessee is to not hurt themselves. Tennessee cannot have turnovers. They cannot have touchdowns called back like they did Saturday. They can't have penalties in the red zone that take them out of an opportunity or put them behind the chains. You know, Tennessee is going to have to play. I wouldn't say a flawless football game because Florida's not that good, but we can't make the mistakes that we did Saturday against UTEP and expect to win this football game. It's not going to happen. So my main key is that Tennessee can't make their own mistakes. That they can't turn the ball over. They can't commit penalties. You know, they are going to have to stay within a good down and distance on offense, and be able to run the ball on first down, or make those third down opportunities manageable. We get consistently third down and 7, third down and 8, third down 10, whatever. It's not going to work. Tennessee will not win the football game.
And your
So
prediction?
you want me to go ahead with my
Yeah,
prediction,
go ahead.
right?
Go ahead with your prediction.
I've been fighting with this all week. I know I would. I know I would. I would fight with it. I've been sitting around all week. I've been trying to think about it. And every time that I think about this game, I think our offensive line is horrible. Our offensive line is horrible. How in the world is Tennessee going to win this football game, knowing that we let ETSU and at times UTEP live in our backfield? So how do we expect to beat Florida, an SEC school? You know, I just don't know how that Tennessee can do that. And if they continue to play like that on the offensive side of the ball, it's not going to happen. But somehow they are. Somehow they are. It is the 20th year anniversary of the 98 National Championship team. Vols 20, Florida 17, pandemonium reigns.
Oh my
You stole them.
gosh! If you could, this is every single week on this podcast, somebody takes my pick. I'm not picking exactly what you picked, but it's really freaking close, and I'm not changing my pick. Our main keys to the game and your prediction for Saturday night.
Keys to the game is offensive line has got to do their job. You don't have the excuse of a 12 o'clock game playing a cupcake team. You're playing arguably to some people maybe the biggest rival on the schedule. I think in terms of importance, I almost think it is, just because if we hadn't been relevant against Alabama in a while, you need to come out fired up Saturday night. If you're the offensive line, you've heard all the criticism. You've heard how you're not any good. You've heard how you're not living up to standards. You need to come out ready to punch somebody in the mouth Saturday night. This is your season right here. I really think if you don't win this one, the wheels could come off, and I think a lot of negativity will creep in. I hope I'm wrong if that doesn't if they don't win it. I think you've got to be able, like you guys have said, they cannot shoot themselves in the foot. They've got to take care of the ball. They've got to play smart. Take your plays when they give them to you. You're not going to light the scoreboard up more than likely. I don't expect this to be a high scoring game by any means. You've got to do that. And on defense, you've got to make Franks beat you. You cannot let them run on you, because if they're running on you, it's going to be a long night. You need to stack the box, do whatever you need to do, make Franks beat you. I don't think he's a very good quarterback, and I do not think he can beat you. But if you give him a running game to go along with it, that changes the game. Special teams, can't have muff punts, can't have shank punts, can't have shank kickoffs, anything like that. You've got to play on every side. You've got to be on it Saturday night. I've kind of gone back and forth a little bit, but this is my game, guys. I'm a major Gator hater, and I've said it. If you haven't spent the last 3 weeks getting ready for this game, I don't know what the hell you're getting ready for, because this is the biggest game on the schedule this year, and it's not just because it's the next game. It's because this is a winnable game. Tennessee, you stole my pick, JP, but 20 years, I don't even know how to pick another score right now, because I was going with the same thing. But I'm going to go Vols 17, Florida 14.
I'm pretty pissed at you for changing your score. What was your original score? 20 to 17.
I was going to say 20 to 17 as well.
God, you should ride with it. Ride or die,
All right,
man.
I'm going
Ride or
with
die.
it. I'm not changing it.
Go with
20
it.
to 17.
Go with
I'm
it.
going the same thing. I just think we're going to get it done. I think we've got a coach who understands the magnitude of this game, who's not going to come out scared, and I think the team will reflect that. Now, I've said all this that Florida's beat. Tennessee's beatable too. We know that. We know that they both got the same problems, but if you're going to build a program in Knoxville, what better way to start? And I think the man will get the job done. Tennessee 20, Florida 17. I'm sticking to it.
It's so comical to me because you guys both picked 20 to 17. And my score is not identical to that. But listen, here it is. Here we go. The season starts Saturday. Nothing before this mattered. They got beat by West Virginia. That is irrelevant at this point. They played 2 cupcakes. They took care of business. That is irrelevant. The season starts on Saturday. The SEC East may not be on the line, but the season starts Saturday. Keys to the game. My first key to the game: do not turn the ball over. JP took it. My second key to the game: offensive line has to step up and play their asses off, and Rocky took it. So I'm going to go ahead and roll out my third key to the game. They have to find a way to get pressure on Felipe Franks. They showed a little bit this past week against UTEP. They got a little bit of pressure, but Pruitt has talked about it time and time again. How many times are they from here to my Jack and Coke sitting an arm's length away, and they cannot find a way to get the quarterback to the ground? They have to find a way. I'm punching my microphone because I'm so fired up. They got to find a way to do it on Saturday. Franks has to be on the ground. I think we summed it up between the three of us. Those are the three main factors. Like JP said, this Tennessee football team cannot shoot themselves in the foot against a Florida team and make it out of Neyland Stadium alive. They cannot do that. I don't think they have to play perfect, but they cannot shoot themselves in the foot and get out alive. But my key to the game is going to be pressuring Franks. You got to have a couple of sacks. My score prediction, it's again, you guys say 20-17. I said last week I put it in my notes so I don't change it. 21-17 Vols is my prediction. I think Tennessee is the better team on paper. I think that Pruitt, everything that's taken place in the past is irrelevant. I think Tennessee takes care of business on Saturday. 21-17, which leads them into a 6-6 season. They get bowl eligible, which is gigantic for Pruitt's first year as the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. Again, guys, thanks for listening to Talkin Vols bonus episode. If you're interested in some basketball news, let us know. Leave a comment. Leave us a comment. Let us know your key to success for the Vols this week against Florida. Let us know your prediction. But also, let us know what you think about basketball. Are you a fan of the basketball team? Do you want more updates on that? A weekly podcast after football season ends. I don't know. Maybe our main and Vols JP will keeping on, and I'll just sit back and edit and let you guys take care of business. But drop down in the comment section. Let us know what you think. For our main and Vols JP, I just got one thing left to say. Florida can kiss my ass and go Big Orange.
Jack Kerouac, he drank himself to death in New England, and I'd like to take his hand and say, Jack, man, it's okay. Now he's gone, and we're left to move on without him. Songs howl like beat poets at an arcade, soaking moonlit falls unbroken past this inundated orb that we call home. And it's night and I'm alone and I'm alive. White headlights pierce the coals, blazing arrows, burning me to the marrow. But fire brings peace as well as it brings fear. You're the only thing I hear, and I want that. Songs howl like beat poets at an arcade, soaking moonlit falls unbroken past this inundated orb that we call home. And it's night and I'm alone and I'm alive. The dogs howl like beat poets at an arcade, soaking moonlit smashed and broken in the sea. When we wake up each cold morning and the birds sing their warnings.